put the circular saw to work. And me, and the ruler, and the pencil, and my brain.
Thumbs up for safety.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelsey.
And my name is Becky.
And we are the Sorry Girls.
We are back doing another episode of DIY your DMs.
This one is really exciting because you guys send us so many ideas and we get to figure out how to make something for you that you don't know how to tackle.
Yes, so in this twist of an episode, we are doing member DIYs as well this time. So if you guys don't know, if you click the join button below, you can become a member, which gives you a lot of access to fun perks that we have, and one of them being a form where you get a direct line to us where you get to submit your DIY requests.
Yes.
And we check that always. I know that you guys also DM us on Instagram, but we can't see all of them just because there are so many. So if you want a guarantee that we're gonna see your request, make sure to become a member. There will be a form where you can submit your DIY requests, and we're doing some of those today.
So today we're tackling 2 member DMs and 1 Instagram DM. So I'm gonna get started with our Instagram DM DIY. I'm gonna tackle it. All right. Okay, so first up, we're gonna be creating something that's like big in size, but really easy to tackle. And I love this because it makes an impact, but they're cheap and easy, and we can do them together. So this one was sent in by Ariana, and it is like a canopy. And I totally agree with her. She said that like some canopies are kind of questionable looking, but I really like how this one has the large rectangle. It doesn't feel claustrophobic underneath the bed. And she didn't know how to make it, so I'm here to figure it out for you, Ariana. So in the picture, I can't tell if that's like wood or what materials they are, but in my head, I'm like, this kind of looks like a hula hoop and some PVC pipe, so that's what we're gonna use. So we're gonna start with our hula hoop, as well as some really thin, kind of like netted curtains, which you can pick up at IKEA, and these were $5 a piece. So this thing's coming together for the cheap. So I do have a hula hoop here, and there's 2 things wrong with it. It makes some noise, which could be relaxing while you're sleeping or might not be. So I'm thinking I'm gonna remove the beads and at the same time try to make it not so colorful, because we do want it to just like blend in with the canopy and not be like, not look like a hula hoop. All right, with my quiet white hula hoop, I'm going to open it up, and then I can go ahead and slip on my curtains. I think I wanna use 4 panels total, but I'm not sure. Let's start getting them on here, and then we can figure it out together. Honestly, I feel like I'm getting married. So I put on 2 of my curtains, and it's looking good, but I honestly can't tell if it's enough curtain to cover and go around all of my rectangular pieces and my whole bed. So my plan is to like put this to the side for now and work on creating my rectangular piece that hangs slightly below this to make sure that the curtain doesn't get tangled up in you as you sleep. I'm sorry, my veil was in the way. Okay, let's do that now. So to make that rectangle I was talking about that's gonna hang underneath my circle, we're going to use some PVC pipe. I have here 2 10-foot PVC pipes that are 1/2 inch wide, and I also have 4 90-degree elbow fittings. So all I need to do is cut off 50 inches off of 2 of my PVC pipes, so that in the end I have 2 70-inch pieces and 2 50-inch pieces. Then I can just add all my pieces together using my 90-degree elbow fittings, and I've made my rectangle. And then you also may have noticed the writing on the sides of the pipe. Now you can remove this with some good old nail polish remover, but it's gonna take a lot of elbow grease. But because this is gonna be like up high, I have all of the writing facing one direction, which is up. You're actually not gonna see it if you're like in bed or just like walking around your room. So I don't think I need to wipe off the writing. So I'm gonna move on to my next step, which is attaching the rope to the hula hoop and to this frame to create my floating frame effect. So now I'm placing my hula hoop in the center of my frame on the ground. So I have 2 panels on my hula hoop, but I actually decided that I wanna add 2 more, so I'm just doing that now to my hula hoop. So next up, I'm making sure that each of my panels of fabric each have a corner. So there's 4 panels kind of grouped separately into 4. And next it's time to start measuring so we can figure out where we're gonna hang some strings to hang this whole thing and keep it together. So I'm starting by cutting a little hole in the middle of one of my panels at the corner, and make sure that your panel is evenly gathered and spaced out between that 1/4 of your hula hoop. Right here I'm going to add a little tick, and this is going to be my starting point. So to do the rest of the measurements, we need to figure out the circumference of the circle. So we can use this formula here to figure out the circumference, or if you're somebody like myself, I'm just gonna go ahead and measure around the circle, then divide that by 4 to find out how big each of our quarter sections should be. And then just go ahead and mark out your 4 quarters. And as I'm marking my 4 corners, I'm just adding little holes so that I can tie my string and just draw a line properly onto the hula hoop. I just placed some tape here on the floor so you can see where my 4 markings are, just so that we all are on the same page and we have a visual frame of reference. Next up, I'm going to do some measurements to make sure that my hula hoop is perfectly centered in my rectangle. So I'm just measuring each side around the hula hoop to make sure that it's perfectly centered, because we want to make sure that our hula hoop and our whole frame are hanging evenly. Next up, I took some thin white string and cut 2 pieces that are 128 inches in length. Then I went ahead and folded those in half and tied a knot with a loop so that I have a way to hang my entire frame. So I put the center of my loop knot right in the middle of my hula hoop, and then I made sure that each string going to the 4 points that I marked out earlier are exactly the same length. Mine happened to be 13.5 inches. And from there, you can tie a knot onto your hula hoop. And then just make sure that your string is going underneath the panel afterwards. Because of that little hole that we created, you can tie a knot and make sure that the string is going under, because we don't want it to hang over our panel. That would make sense. I'm going to move on to tying my outer corners of my rectangular frame. So I'm taking the string and pulling it tight, making sure that my hula hoop still isn't moving. So if you need to tape down your hula hoop so that it can stay in the center, go ahead and do that. And I actually decided to put down a little bit of hot glue first, because I found that when you're tying a knot, it can make things uneven because it's hard to get a knot very precise. So I'm adding a little bit of hot glue, and then I'm able to wrap around and tie a knot, and then I can just make sure that everything is as tight as I want to be. So repeat that to all 3 corners, and then when you're done and the glue is dry and you hold it up, you're gonna have a complete canopy. This is crazy. I can't believe how easy it was to make. There was a little bit of math involved, but that's okay. I'm always down to flex my math muscle. And then to hang it into my ceiling, I just used a C-hook. Since the frame isn't that heavy, I didn't have to do anything too crazy, but definitely you wanna make sure that's going into a secure spot into your ceiling with a medium-sized C-hook to hang up the whole thing. I hope that answers your question, Ariana. I hope I was able to tackle this tutorial and DIY for you so that you can maybe recreate it for your own room. I did find it pretty easy, I did find it pretty affordable, and the end result is super cute.
So this next DIY request comes to us from Aldana. She is also a member. So she says she wants to see us make one of these produce bags, but also have it cute enough to go out with. So I really like that added challenge. I think we can do something fun here. So the photo looks like it was probably actually crocheted using crochet hooks, but I think that I can figure out an easier way to do this with just some simple knots that you guys can easily do at home as well without actually having to know how to crochet. So we're gonna try and make something like this, but we're gonna make it a little bit maybe fancier, a little prettier, maybe some different colors. I got a plan, so let's see how this goes. Okay, so to use as our bag rope, we're using this nylon mason line and cutting 20 strings that are 6 feet long each. Separate these into 2 groups of 10. Take the first group and find the center of the ropes. Wrap some tape around the center. This will be the handle of one side of the bag. Figure out how big you want your handle to be. We'll start tying knots at this length. Take 2 strings at a time, starting from the edge, and tie them together until you have 10 knots. For the next row, take the inside string of one knot and the outside string of the next and tie these together in a new knot. Continue across your strings using the same method of the inside string of one and the outside of the next. You should have 9 knots in this row. For the next row, instead of starting at the edge, drop the first 2 strings and start at the 3rd and 4th string. Again, go all the way across, knotting pairs of strings together. Repeat the same process of leaving the last 2 strings out at the end of this row. To start your next row, take a third string out and knot all the way across, leaving the last 3 strings out at the end as well. Essentially, we're creating a giant V shape by dropping an extra string each time, starting with 10 knots, then 9, then 8, then 7, and so on until you reach a row that only has 1 knot left. Put this aside for now and then repeat this entire process again on your second set of 10 strings. Once you've completed your second side, you should have 2 of these knotted V's that look something like this. This is the front and this is the back of the bag. So essentially we're now going to be making a V in the middle, going in the opposite direction to attach the 2 sides together. So start with the 2 center strings and make 1 knot for the first row. The next row should make 2 knots, and the following will have 3, and so on. Continue until you reach your row of 10 knots. Next, we'll be bringing all of the outside strings into the center to begin our final section of knots. Starting again with 1 knot at the top, continue until all your loose strands are knotted to the same length. Now we need to close up the bottom of the bag so that nothing falls out. Lay all of your knots together so you have a top row of knots sitting on top of a bottom row of knots. There should be 10 top knots sitting on top of 10 bottom knots. Take the top left string and the bottom left string and knot them together. Next, move over and take the top and bottom string and knot it together with the next top and bottom string. This time you'll be knotting 4 strings together. Continue moving over and knotting the top and bottom string on the left with the top and bottom string on the right, knotting 4 strings together each time. Once you get to the very end, you should have 2 remaining strings, 1 top and 1 bottom, which you can now knot together as well. All right, so now the bottom is closed. So since Aldana wanted to make this bag a little bit fancier, I'm deciding to use the remaining string and fraying it a little bit so that the bottom looks like a row of tassels. I'm then giving my fringe a little haircut to make them look more even. For the handles, I'm going to be using some of this navy cording I got from the craft store. With some super glue, put a small dab to attach the start of your cord to the bag. Wrap this all the way around for a few inches and then super glue the other end. Repeat this on both sides of your handles. All right, so this is how our little macrame produce bag turned out. I actually think it's really cute with the fringe on the bottom and like the blue kind of suede cording at the top. The best part about these bags is that when you want to pack them up and bring them with you, they're so small, but because of the knots, they actually stretch out to hold so many items. So this is great for your groceries, but also it's pretty cute. If you wanted to go out with this thing, I mean, I think that you could. So I hope you liked our attempt at this, Aldana, and I can't wait to see what we make next from our next suggestion.
So last up, I'm going to tackle this shelf that Anna Bailey 2, she's actually a member, she sent this in. I get why you want to make this, it's super cute, but it does take a little bit of figuring out to make it. It's not the most simple shelf ever, but I put some pen to paper, did some math, and I think I know how to do it. So, Anna Bailey, we're gonna start with some pieces of knotty pine. So these are 6 feet, I guess. I'm gonna take a wild guess based on my height. These are 6 foot by 10 inches, but if you guys know anything about wood, it shrinks a little bit once they cut it. So it's actually 9 inches and a quarter. So my first step to make this shelf is to actually cut out 8 pieces of 9 1/4 by 9 1/4 inch squares. So we're really just cutting out 8 squares. Should be pretty simple, but we're gonna do a little bit of sawing with our circular saw. So I've cut out 9 of my square pieces, and I've also done 2 smaller pieces. These ones are 5 inches each because if you notice in her shelf, there's like, it's not her shelf, not yet, till you make it. There's a shorter piece on the bottom and on the top. So altogether, I actually have 11 pieces. And next up, I'm just going to give them a quick sand so that they're ready to be assembled. So I'm taking 2 of my square pieces and then I'm basically forming an L with the edges together. And I'm using some wood glue and then clamping it together for a little bit and then coming in with a nail gun. If you don't have a nail gun, you could use screws or nails here, but I would probably recommend some small screws if you didn't have a nail gun, but then you'd have to pre-drill your holes. So this does become a little bit complicated, but I love the nail gun. I haven't been using it for that long, but it is really easy once you get the hang of it. So once I've completed my first L, I'm going to go ahead and add another square top piece. And I just repeated the same process with some wood glue, clamping it for a little bit, and adding some nails with my nail gun. We're just repeating this step over and over, alternating sides, making sure that our horizontal pieces are all square together and that those are on the bottom and the vertical pieces are on top. It is a little bit difficult to get the nail gun in there, but I did manage to make it work. And then at the end, I just needed to add on my shorter pieces. One goes on the bottom, one goes on the top. And in the end, I've got my final shelf. This is what it looks like when I'm done assembling it, and I think it looks a lot like the picture. I'm glad all that math worked out, and I think it looks really good. My next step is to add some wood filler just in any of the cracks here, as well as in the nail gun holes. And then I can get to sanding and staining. And I'm just staining in the color natural because this looks like the same color that the shelves are in the reference picture. Once my stain was on and dry, I went ahead and added some keyhole hangers. This way I can add 2 screws to the wall, and then the whole unit can just slip onto those screws and it will sit very flush. So this is what my final piece looks like. I'm super happy with how this turned out. It definitely looked a little bit complicated in the picture, but in the end, it's like pretty simple and very cool. Thank you, Anna Bailey, too, for the suggestion, because otherwise I wouldn't have gotten to tackle this. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's video. I was gonna say week, but usually we upload like twice a week, once on the vlog channel, so like that's a couple times a week.
I hope you guys enjoyed this, and just a friendly reminder that we do this series fairly often, and if you would like your DIY to be made and the next time we do this, please go ahead and click the button below to become a member so you have access to that form where you can submit your DM requests.
If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a like,
And if you love it, make sure you sub it.
and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hi guys, welcome to the end slate. Oh my goodness, creative gardening. You made this killer test tube propagation station that we made in the previous video, and it's so cute. Your pothos look like they are thriving. Thanks for sending us this picture. Send us your DIY recreations on Instagram using #SorryGirlsSquad.